Okay, hello everyone. It's Victoria with Nutrition by Victoria. Welcome to today's live. Don't mind me as I fix my hair for a minute here. Had quite the active day today. I biked to an appointment that I had, which was a lot of fun. I love cycle commuting. It is just the best. Being able to get around using your own body and your own fuel reserves. Okay, so today I wanted to chit chat about some questions that I've been getting, some concerns that some folks have had in regards to my dietary changes, which really aren't that crazy. Okay, I'm just not subscribing to this whole sugar fasting propaganda diets that people are doing right now. I'm trying to bring a bit of balance to it, and the idea is that with your diet you want to bring balance. You want to find the balance that works best for you. So I am currently in the midst of, hey Jessica, thanks for joining. I figured you'd be here. I appreciate you coming on and watching my lives and, participating. It is great because there's a lot of trolls that show up too. And those ones aren't so much fun to deal with. I've been getting a lot of troll comments on my YouTube, and I just I can't get to most of the stuff. So that is why I make these lives here, to address the main questions that people have. So I was trying to pull up my computer to answer some of those questions, but my computer doesn't seem to be working. But the main concern or question that people have had for me is, why did you recommend unlimited sugar? Now, I just want to clarify that in my messaging, I've always promoted unlimited carbohydrate calories. And if I've said unlimited sugar, that has meant carbohydrates. Sugar, carbohydrates, glucose being synonymously used, okay? So, but to be more exact, I'm referring to unlimited carbohydrates, and I've always said fruit, sugars, and starches, okay? With the foundation of the diet being fruits and starches, because these are your whole food carbohydrates that are coming from nature, okay? Sugar, added sugars, are inherently processed in a way in order to concentrate them, right? So it's a concentrated form of carbohydrate. It's very high in calorie density. It is not meant to be a food group on its own. That is sugar. We're talking about like maple syrup, table sugar, coconut sugar, honey, I guess could be grouped into there, even though honey is not something that I promote the use of, because it is a bee vomit and it can be inflammatory because it's coming from regurgitated bee, spit. Somebody tried to tell me it wasn't vomit, but the way that they described it, was that, well, this is a natural process that bees do. I get that, but it's still bee vomit. Okay, so let's just be clear about that. Anyways, so funny to have these conversations, I am in the midst of updating my coaching program. For those of you who have purchased a copy of it already, it's also on discount. The coaching program is the lowest price that I've ever sold it for on my website right now, and The link for that is in the description of this video when I'm done being live. Otherwise, you can go to nutritionbyvictoria.com, go to the coaching, and you can go to the coaching program, and you can purchase it now, not being updated, and you will be receiving the updated copy. So you can get the program on sale right now, because once I update it, I'm going to be increasing the price again. So right now I am selling the first version of the program for cheap, and then for those of you who purchase the first version of the program, of my coaching program, you will be receiving the updated version for free. And that includes updated video explanation. So I wrote my coaching program like a course, like a crash course in human nutrition, where you have 4 lessons. We go through understanding the human metabolism, fundamentals for an optimal diet and lifestyle, then putting it into practice, so creating your own personal diet based on the guidelines, and then troubleshooting your results is the last lesson. And that is the last one that I have to work on right now, just for updating the written material, and then I have to re-record the lessons, because then I go through, you can audio just listen to it, right, because you get the video links. You can follow along and take notes. You can listen and then refer back to the notes. That is the PDF lesson notes. The idea behind it is that you have as much information as you need to understand how the human metabolism works from a fundamental standpoint of energy generation, and how what we eat can make or break that in terms of influencing our metabolic rate, and providing the fuel that our body needs in order to generate energy. And then we talk about what to eat, how much to eat, where do you get the rest of your nutrition from, why we are going to eat plant-based, why we're going to eat high carb, low fat. And I'm taking really broad elements of science, i.e. the human metabolism and nutrition, and then I'm condensing them, and we're going to move like a pyramid. So we get the foundation built, and then we move up the pyramid, where the top of the pyramid is you knowing how to navigate your own personal diet. So I have a lot of people coming to me in my own coaching group right now saying that you were wrong. Sugar is, the bane of all existence. Like, you're not even doing what you were doing, a few months ago anymore. And why don't you just come clean about it? And I'm like, look, like, there is room within anyone's diet, okay, to experiment, okay? And because nothing is like, when it comes to human nutrition, there's so much variation involved. And for myself, I have chosen to pursue this high carb, low fat path for several reasons. The main reason being I wanted to maximize my own genetic potential, based on, the cards that I was dealt, based on, coming from having like clinically diagnosed GI issues that still will pop up if I'm not doing things correctly, right? So I've had to figure out in a very much narrow facet, what is going to work best for my body based on, food preferences, health conditions, stage of life. So I'm currently breastfeeding my 3rd child, and I'm going to be 38 soon. So the body goes through these normal hormonal changes, this normal aging process. And what we want to do, and then we are all subject to environmental toxins, um, genetic, you know, predispositions, and injuries that maybe we've encountered, trauma that we've encountered during our lifetime that can impact the foods that we, or how our body can handle the foods that we consume, right? So, based on all of the literature, based on all of the science, I am offering a comprehensive understanding of how you can eat as a human to achieve an optimal level of health and fitness and a lean aesthetic, right? This is my outfit today. And this is after my lunch smoothie. Okay? Because let's be honest, all right? The craze right now, the craze, okay? The crazy that is abound right now in the universe, on the planet Earth, okay, is because, more specifically on social media, if you don't know what I'm talking about, is because people are after a certain aesthetic, okay? I get bombarded on my Instagram and on my YouTube and even on Facebook with just fit people doing all kinds of different diets, lean people doing whatever kind of diet, supermodels doing whatever kind of diet, bodybuilder guys, girls doing whatever kind of diet, right? So, generally, how the social media thing works, and the reason why I show my own personal aesthetic, right, is because that's what gets you, okay? You see the image of how somebody looks and you're like, I want that for myself, right? Like, we're all guilty of this, okay? Because let's be honest, you're not going to be taking advice from me if the screen is blank, okay? You're not going to be taking advice from me if I'm 300 pounds, all right? Or maybe you are if I'm on a weight loss journey and I'm doing sugar fasting right now because that's what's trending. But what I'm trying to say is that the desperation that is coming from people who are criticizing me and trolling me and saying whatever to me through comments and messaging and whatever right now is all because people think that I did them wrong by saying, hey, look at how much sugar I'm eating, and now I'm saying, hey, I'm taking a break, okay? So let's get back to that whole thing. The way I approach this with my coaching program is that we create a foundation of your diet that is built on fruits and starches, okay? So even when I was eating a lot of sugar, first off, it was an experiment, okay? I am in Durian Rider's coaching group, and I have had some things pop up for myself because let's be honest, I'm human too. Uh, where I'm like, hey, I would like more energy, okay? And so his solution is, well, eat more sugar. So I was like, that's the only thing that I really haven't like dove into. Like, I'll have sugar in something here, sugar in something there, but I really haven't went like full throttle with that. And so I did. And I went all in on the sugar thing, still maintaining a foundation of my diet being fruit, okay, and rice at night, which is how I still eat currently. And then I would have as much sugar as I wanted, okay? Not subscribing to any kind of quantity, okay? Just eating whatever I wanted. And I'm also one of those people who doesn't want to eat like right when they wake up in the morning. Like, my ideal wake up schedule is I literally roll out of bed, drink some water, go to the bathroom, then I'm on my spin bike for the next 20 minutes, like waking up, okay? That is my like morning coffee. I was having like Sour Patch Kids prior to that. I noticed that it didn't make a difference in terms of my energy level. And then after I get off the bike, I go have my coconut water. Or, you know, tomorrow I might have a vitamin water that's left in my fridge because I ran out of coconut water. So I'm not like anti sugar here, like added sugar, right? Even the coconut water that I've shown this week in my what I eat video. I'm getting warm, by the way. It is almost 80 degrees outside right now. It had sugar in the ingredients list. It said like 1%. And I was like, whatever. Like, I'm not trying to be like a Nazi about not having sugar. I'm just not like dumping it. So this is what I was doing. I would get up in the morning and I'd have like a handful of Sour Patch Kids. Oftentimes it would not even be a full serving because I just couldn't eat it at that time, okay? So I'm still using my intuition to guide my choices, right? But I had to like think about, oh yeah, you should eat these Sour Patch Kids, right? Instead of just going with my own um, intuition of just not even wanting to eat something as soon as I wake up in the morning. Like, I have something within 30 minutes of waking, but I don't like to have something like right away. And then the Sour Patch Kids just started tasting very chemically to me. And then in the meantime, I've also had some health issues come up. Like, I flew on an airplane with a sinus infection and I have a sinus blockage currently. I'm probably going to need to have a procedure done. Um, and I've been dealing with that. So then I also had to like take a round of antibiotics recently, the end of April, because I had a second cellulitis eye infection come up from this sinus blockage. So I'm at high risk for infection right now. And I'm doing some research and I'm like, maybe um, I'm like doing too much exercise. So I cut back on, I was doing a lot of running races. So I cut back on that. The last one I did was on Mother's Day. And as much as I love them, I feel like I've had an issue with cortisol. And I feel like the sugar was, you know, exacerbating that to an extent. So I would have Sour Patch Kids in the morning, do my 20 minutes on the bike, then I would be done with that, and then I'd have this big cup of orange juice, probably like, I don't know, 24 ounces, 16, 24 ounces, sometimes maybe 32 ounces. And I would literally just like dump sugar into it. And it tasted really good. But I would notice that on some occasions, I was experiencing some hypoglycemia from that. So I would test like my blood sugar prior, you know, and it's usually in the 80s, sometimes in the low 90s. And then I'd have that orange juice and then I'd test my blood sugar, you know, 1 hour, 2 hours after that, and it'd be like 70, like 72. And I'm like, okay, so I'm using a little too much insulin, and it's driving down my blood glucose. So I'm using objective measures here to try to figure out what's going to work the best for me. And I found that by using objective measuring tools like the scale, like a body weight scale. I weigh myself about once a week on the weekend, generally, first thing in the morning. And also, I use a blood glucose monitor, or not monitor, meter. So I prick myself and then I, you know, check my blood sugar. I found that tool to come in handy. It will indicate, you know, um, if my cortisol is high in the morning, my fasting glucose is going to be a little more elevated. It can show me what's going on when I'm sick. Generally, my glucose is going to be a little more elevated, and then it can also show that hypoglycemia. So before I had lunch today, before I had my smoothie, I had a strawberry banana frozen fruit smoothie with some water. I checked my blood sugar and it was at 87. My fasting this morning was 83. And then I'll check my postprandial soon as well. just to see how my body is doing with the food that I'm consuming. Another tool you can use here is a continuous glucose monitor. Um, and that can be really good at identifying, where you're spiking too much, too high, and then if you are experiencing hypoglycemia. Spikes aren't inherently bad. It's just that you don't want to be driving your glucose down so much that you are, too low on a regular basis, right? And then on top of it all, like I do think that I have some maybe other like underlying health things potentially going on ever since I've had my third child. I've had more like orthostatic hypotension, loose ligaments and joints. Um, it takes me longer to recover from injury. Um, like I have, I like pulled a muscle right here in one of my running races, and it's still like I can feel it, the little bit of a niggle there. So you have to use your diet. The whole point of what I'm trying to share right now is that I am in the midst of troubleshooting my own diet, okay? I'm not here to tell you that sugar's bad. I am here to say that if you are having issues with your weight, though, like I see people in Durian Riders coaching group saying, hey, I've been doing this for so long, my weight went up and it's not coming back down, and I'm drinking 500 grams of sugar water a day. Like, that should signal to you that maybe you should try to eat that food instead of drinking the sugar water. People have been asking me, well, where's your research? And then I show, a video that Dr. Greger did 10 years ago, but it does indicate that drinking sugar water, and they used 3 tablespoons, not 500 grams, not 250 grams of sugar in water, and that it elicits a glucose spike, which is going to require more insulin than if that spike came in at a lower range, right? So you can use fruit to blunt that spike. So if you guys follow Freely, the banana girl, you'll notice her sugar water in the morning contains fruit. She adds frozen berries, she adds grapefruit juice, lemon juice, lime juice. Just adding the fruit is going to offset that spike. It's going to blunt the spike from, the sugar alone. And I talked about this in my last video, that the problem is that the regulatory nutrition that blunts the sugar spike is missing from the table sugar, right? So in order for your body to process sugar in a healthy way that creates the least amount of stress on the body, you need to be consuming the sugar with the nutrients that buffer the process. Okay, so that's just going to look like you're eating the fruit. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with sprinkling a little bit of sugar on your fruit, but you don't need to be dumping an entire cup of sugar onto like 1 pound of strawberries, right? So you're taking 1 pound of strawberries is like 150 calories of strawberries and you're adding like 700 calories of sugar to it. Now, a better way of looking at this would be, okay, you're gonna have 700 calories of strawberries, which is, like 7 pounds, 6 pounds of strawberries, which is a lot of strawberries. You're gonna take a big number 2 after that, and you're adding 150 calories of sugar to it. Okay, so that's what Freely does with her banana smoothie meals, is she's got 800 calories of bananas in there with about 150 calories of sugar. So the nutrients in the bananas help to buffer any kind of spike that would come, glucose spike, from the sugar being in out of balance ratio with the fruit. And you notice that Freely's not consuming the sugar, by itself. Maybe she does, but she's, it's rare, and she likes to drink her she likes to drink her fruit, or eat her fruit, not like I've never really seen her like eat a date. Like I like to eat my dates. um because I even like back in the day when I would do Datorade, I would feel like I'd get kind of weird feeling after I drank this Datorade. That was just my experience, right? And that gets into the other thing that I wanted to talk about today before I answer questions. So it seems like this is like going to be lecture first, and then I'll answer questions. Um, when I first came on to this diet lifestyle, one, people are trying to say that metabolic damage isn't real. When I came to this path, initially, I was not eating like 3 meals a day. I was barely eating. And I was aware that it was negatively impacting my health at the time, and it was probably going to get worse. And so a day of eating for me would look like, maybe a piece of fresh fruit, maybe some green juice, some dried fruit, maybe a little salad, and then nighttime cravings might be like a scoop of peanut butter or something. Like I I can't remember exactly like what a day looked like, but I don't eat like that anymore, and I wanted to get away from that. So I found Freely, and I was like, okay, I want to try her plan. Well, drinking fresh ripe bananas with water, blending it into a smoothie, would give me severe like digestive issues, right? And I gained a lot of weight too when I went from like 125 pounds at my lowest to like 185, 190 pounds at my highest, having just fruits and greens, okay? I would drink a big orange juice in the morning. I would eat dates. I would have some fresh fruit. I would have like nori salad wraps at night. And that made me gain a ton of weight. So when people say, fruits and greens are like the end all be all for your diet, like that's not the case. This all comes down to the functioning of your metabolism. And that's why I wrote my coaching program up, and why I have it aligned the way that I do, because you need to understand how the human metabolism works and what can happen if you neglect to meet your fuel requirements on a daily basis. Okay, you set yourself up for that kind of fat storage, the kind of fat storage that I experienced. I have other clients that I've worked with who have had a lot of success with a high carb, low fat diet, but they had to gain weight first. I had High Carb Hadley's Kitchen. That's her channel name on my YouTube channel, to interview her, and she is an incredible athlete and a mom, who originally, she came from restriction. She had to put the weight on. She gained about 10 to 15 pounds, and then she's lost it all now and is back to like being a super lean version of herself, and she's performing phenomenally in her athletic pursuits. I had another client that I brought on here too, Keisha. You guys probably have heard of her. And you can follow her on social media as well. Get Fit with KC. And she has lost over 50 pounds eating this way. But again, she gained about 100 pounds initially because she had damaged her metabolism. So those are the folks that I'm used to working with. That's kind of what I specialize in. I can work with anybody, but metabolic damage is a real thing, and it doesn't matter what you're eating to recover. Actually, it does matter what you're eating, because a high carb, low fat intake can blunt and speed up the recovery process, but it really depends on your genetics and all kinds of other factors, okay, and how much metabolic damage you've done to your body. You know, I get questions all the time about, what about so and so? What about this person? You know, they're really slim and they're not. Like, everybody's coming from a different background in terms of the way that their metabolism is working, and we all have to figure out what's going to work best for us. So what I'm trying to say is that sugar is not going to be the magic pill that's going to make you lose all of this weight. There's way more factors involved when it comes to sustainable weight loss than going at it from a fad diet approach. Okay, so like when I first adopted Freely's diet, I thought that's how it was going to work, and it wasn't the case at all. I got healthier in the meantime, though. But the fruits and greens thing, you know, which is like the mucusless diet, it definitely made me put on the pounds. And what I've realized from that experience is that fruits and greens are healthy foods, but you know, starches, that adding the starch in and going to like a raw tofu or fruit tofu approach for myself personally is what has worked the best. And the reason for that is because I couldn't do those huge freely sized smoothies. I'm allergic to mangoes, okay? I cannot drink Daterade on a regular basis. I can eat my dates and I can eat my fruit, but I really enjoy being in tune with my body and what it's telling me. So if I drink this huge, you know, watery, fresh banana smoothie, I'm not going to feel very good after it. But I've found out that if I freeze the bananas and I add less water, then I have no problem. So for me, I had to troubleshoot that out. But, you know, this isn't so dogmatic where like, let's say that I was being coached by Freely, right? And she's telling me, well, you can't do that. You can't have frozen fruit. You're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. Like, that's what people are assuming I am doing right now is that, you know, me making changes to my own diet where I'm not having as much sugar is inherently affecting other people because maybe it invalidates what it is that their belief system is about the human diet. Like, but I'm allowed to change the way that I eat based on how I feel, and I always do. And that's how I start to feel better, you know? Like, so I did this sugar experiment. I got, you know, specific results from it. The way I like to describe it is pros and cons, right? So I definitely had some great energy, but it came in waves, okay? And where now I experience not such like crazy high energy, but it's more stable. And that's what I was looking for, is more stability. Also, like I've needed to do some work improving my gut microbiome, which meant having more fiber, having more nutrition, because I, you know, had to take a round of antibiotics and I had to build that back up. And so I wanted to cut the sugar out for a little bit so I could do that. This is about being your own Goldilocks, okay? And figuring out what works best for you. If I continued to force myself to eat exactly like Freely in her like older What I Eat in a Day videos, because that was back when I was like following her very regularly and trying to make it work, right? I would have never got the results that I have now, okay? Because I wasn't doing what was working for me. I was trying something, but I wasn't going to her and blaming her for the fact that I didn't feel good on a 10 banana smoothie with a liter and a half of water added to it, okay? I was like, okay, well, I I got to figure out how I want to use the guidelines of this diet approach and make it work for me, because I believed that I could, again, get similar aesthetic results to Freely, for instance. And that meant using the principles of her approach, the 80-10-10 diet at the time is what it was called. And then she refined it to like 95-5, which worked even better for me personally, um, in order to get similar results, okay? And I would say that aesthetically, I do have similar results in regards to my own personal genetics and the fact that I've had 3 children, right? And I'm completely natural too. I've had absolutely zero work done to my body. I don't wear any makeup. I don't color my hair. I do the bare minimum. I like being natural. I have sensitive skin. I have a sensitive GI tract. So instead of blaming freely for my, you know, experience following her diet exactly, what I had to do was um, figure out how I could make it work for myself. So I figured out freezing the bananas. I figured out eating the dates, and I don't like to eat just any dates. I like to eat a very specific kind of date in terms of like texture and firmness and flavor. And these are the things that you have to figure out for yourself. So when it comes to the sugar, right? You have to figure out how much is going to make you feel your best. Do you need to use it at all? Do you even need to use the sugar? Maybe your fruit's already sweet enough. A lot of people say though that they come from a certain part of the world where the fruit that they have is not very sweet. And in that case, starting with just like a teaspoon of sugar, maybe a tablespoon just like sprinkled on the fruit is all that you need. Sugar, added sugar is not a food group, okay? It doesn't contain nutrition, nutrients, micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals, and it doesn't contain fiber, and it doesn't contain water, and it also doesn't contain all these other nutrients that natural foods contain that make us healthy, like antioxidants, polyphenols, all kinds of compounds, okay? And somebody asked me too, well, isn't white rice the same as white sugar? White rice, contrary to popular belief, does contain soluble fiber and it does contain nutrients, and oftentimes it is fortified with nutrients, so it has nutrition added back to it. It also is low in calorie density, as opposed to sugar that is high in calorie density. And now I'm not here to tell you to subscribe to a low calorie density diet exclusively, but by default, the foods that are included on a high carb, low fat, plant based diet are inherently low calorie density. Fruits, vegetables, grains, potatoes, oatmeal, legumes, these are all low in calorie density. These are all the foods that are going to have the highest nutrient density and are going to fill you up. Okay, high in water content, high in fiber, right? So within that, you have to figure out what's going to work best for you. So I found a fruit till 4 diet to work the best for myself. So that looks like, having some kind of beverage, sugary beverage. I don't really like a lot of sugar though, I've found. So, coconut water recently has been hitting the spot as a backup, like vitamin water. Um, and then I'm done with that for the day. I haven't really been messing too much with like fruit juices, um, just as my gut's been more sensitive. But I'm not here to say that fruit juice is bad, okay? Just because I'm not having something doesn't mean that you shouldn't have something. If something is working for you and it's your favorite, like mango puree, right? Which I would love to be able to drink, by the way. So, for those of you who can consume mangoes, I'm very jealous. But let's say that is your favorite beverage. But Victoria doesn't eat mangoes, okay? You never see me eat mangoes, and then maybe you've heard that I'm allergic to them because I am. Um, so, that doesn't mean that you can't eat mangoes, okay? It's a sweet fruit, it's healthy, It's nutrient dense. Like, have it, have as much as you want of mango, dried mango, mango puree, fresh mangoes. I'm not like Skeleton City guy here and telling you that you can eat too many mangoes because I don't believe in that. My message has consistently been to eat as much high carb, low fat, plant based vegan foods as you desire every single day. Is that all fruit? Sure. Can that be starch solution? Absolutely. Can that be fruit till noon? Yes. Can that be fruit till 4? That is my personal favorite. Okay, so I have this all lined out in my coaching program, even the current version that's out right now. Um, I teach you guys how to make this work for you. Okay. So you don't need to do exactly what I'm doing. If I say that, I don't like Sour Patch Kids right now, that doesn't mean that if you're eating Sour Patch Kids while you're watching this, that you shouldn't eat Sour Patch Kids, okay? You need to figure out what's going to work best for you. But you I am advising that maybe Sour Patch Kids as a meal is not ideal, okay? Maybe having them as a snack, having them as a addition to some apples, some oranges, because you can only eat 3 oranges and you're on your lunch break at work and you need something more. But you're getting some nutrition there, right? Okay. So that's all that I am trying to say here is that you have to figure out what works best for you. So I today had some coconut water and then I had about 6 like bigger clementines. And then I rode my bike to my appointment and I came back and then I had my lunch and that was my frozen strawberry banana smoothie that I showed you guys how to make on here. Very basic. You put the fruit in the blender, you put some water in to cover, and then you blend to the consistency that you like. I don't like super watery smoothies. They upset my stomach. I don't think they taste good. I like a thick smoothie, like a thick shake, and something that I can spoon, something that I can drink. And then in a little bit, I'll have some dates. When it hits date o'clock, I'm kind of like Caroline Deisler with her dates, where I eat as much dates as I want every single day. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more, but it comes out generally to about 500 to 1,000 calories a day of dates. Like it's a big, calorie hit for me because the smoothie I had is probably like 500 calories. The clementines are probably about 400. The coconut water was probably about 50. So then I'll get the dates in, and that'll be, get me up for around 2,000 calories for the day. And then I'll have my dinner, which is generally vegetables and rice. And then recently, that's been kind of funny too because I really don't do that well on potatoes. I try potatoes and I like to have potatoes every here and there, but if they had to be like the staple of my diet, it wouldn't work out. Rice has to be my staple starch. But then you're going to be like, some of you, well, rice doesn't work for me. And you know what? That is absolutely fine. Pick another starch. Or maybe you don't like starch, or maybe starch doesn't work for you at all. And you need to do a big, big salad with avocado, okay? And that is what works for you, and it makes your diet 80-10-10 instead of 95-5. Okay? I like to eat 95-5. Some people need more fat in their diet to be satiated. Okay? They can't eat as many carbs as I can. You have to figure out what's going to work best for you in the context of the information that is available for, in my coaching program in regards to human metabolism and how to eat to support a high functioning metabolism. A high metabolism that is going to allow you to get the results that you want health wise, fitness wise, aesthetic wise. Okay. Within, the context of what works best for you. So let's answer some questions here. I went on a 45-minute ramble. Oh my. I feel like my lighting is kind of funky right now too. I'm in front of a window. And my computer, like, what are you even doing? Okay. So I hope that this made sense. Hey, Fruit Sugar Love, thanks for the super chat, hun.